Hopefully Frederick's getting connected here. We're going to go and get started on the program. Let me say good morning to everyone. I want to welcome you all to the Pro Football Hall of Fame here in Canton, Ohio. My name is Jerry Shockey. I oversee all the youth and educational programs here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We're really excited to have everyone connected here for our Heart of the Hall of Famer series featuring Pro Football Hall of Famer Mr. Chris Doleman. And for those of you that are, I think all the students are new to this, but we have one school that I know has done this before, and Bradford I think has tuned in before as well. But the real idea and premise behind all this is to convey what it took to get in the Hall of Fame beyond just the athletic abilities. And we know, and you guys know, that our Hall of Famers are great examples of skill and talent and athleticism and all those sorts of things. But what you might not realize is that it took a lot more than just those things to get in the Hall of Fame. It took trustworthiness. It took respect. It took responsibility. Those 6 pillars that you guys are studying, those are core character qualities to not only being a great football player and potentially a Hall of Famer, but a Hall of Famer in everyday life. So this is an opportunity for you guys to ask questions of someone who's not only achieved great success on the field, but someone that has achieved great success off the field. And arguably, as many of our Hall of Famers, it's the case that has probably had as much or if not more success off the field than they have had on the field. So we're really excited to give you guys the opportunity to interact with Mr. Doleman here today. As always, we have to thank those folks that help make this connection possible. Oh, is that Frederick?
Yes.
Okay. Frederick, glad you guys got connected. Do you guys want to go ahead and mute there?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. So glad you guys got connected. So we're just starting on the program, and we'll go to questions from you guys here shortly. Thank you very much. So, you know, this program cannot take place without a lot of great partners and it took a football team to make this happen. First of all, we have to thank our friends at Polycom. Kerry Edwards, Kerry Robertson, Kim Johnson, Chris Pickering, Keith Rutledge, all the folks there that helped make this possible. Thank you very much for opening your doors and hosting Mr. Doleman today at your studios there in Atlanta, Georgia. Thanks to our friends at eTech Ohio. I know some of you, I think Wisconsin probably had them on the phone right now to get in connected. I'm guessing that there might have been some problems there, but our folks at eTech are there at Mark, Paul, Josh, Kenny, all those folks behind the scenes making sure these connections are possible. Thank you very much to those folks to our State Department of Education here in Ohio. We always have to thank our wonderful teachers out there for making this connection possible, preparing your students, scheduling the program. I know it takes a commitment and sacrifice on your end to make this possible, so thank you very much for everything you guys were able to do there at Suffern and Bradford and Frederick School District there in Wisconsin, so thank you for that. And last but definitely not least, we always have to thank our students because, as we shared in the last session, you guys are the drivers of the show today, driving the program with your questions. So thank you for the preparation that you've done. I know you guys have some great questions to ask Mr. Doleman about his life experiences and character advice and things like that. So thank you for all the work that you guys have done. With that being said, what I would like to do is allow all the schools to kind of introduce themselves, so to speak. I'm going to call upon your school, not only so Mr. Doleman can see you guys and see where you guys are from, but also so the other schools that are tuned in can see and hear from you guys. So when I ask you to unmute your microphone, feel free to give a shout out for your school, give a cheer, make some noise, whatever you want to call it. But we'll go ahead and have your students do that. So we're going to start first in New York at Suffern Middle School. Go ahead with the shout out. Suffern?
Okay.
Suffern, I'm very disappointed. You guys are our veterans of this program. Not only has Suffern done this program before, but they actually hosted Hall of Famer Harry Carson for us too about a year or so ago. So let's try that again, Suffern.
Good, Suffern. Let's go.
Shout out.
Thank you very much, Suffern. And Eleanor will go ahead and mute there. Bradford, New York, Bradford Central, go ahead. Okay, thank you. And as they shared to me, that's the reason why I have the Sam Bradford jersey behind me. It was for Bradford Central School District. Last but definitely not least, I saw the group of students just got connected in from Frederick, Wisconsin. Frederick School District, go ahead. Frederick, I saw you guys connected. If you want to unmute and give a shout out.
What's up?
There we go. Thank you. I thought maybe you guys fell asleep or something on me. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I know maybe because you're connected to a Viking and it's a classroom of Packer fans. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we'll see. We'll get to talk to you guys here in a minute. So thank you very much, Frederick, for connecting in. I'm glad you guys got connected. Again, I just want to remind all the schools, as you've already done, keep your microphones muted throughout the program. We will call upon you when it comes time for your question. And even after you ask your question, if you can go ahead and mute immediately following your question, that way we can eliminate any background noise as Mr. Doleman is giving his remarks in response to the question that you asked. That'd be greatly appreciated. But I'd like to turn things over here in just a second to Mr. Doleman. But before I do that, what I'd like to do is read a little bit about his achievements, both on and off the field. First of all, he was drafted as a linebacker in the first round by the Vikings back in 1985. He moved to starting defensive end late in his second season. He had 8 team sack titles, 6 with the Vikings, 1 with the Falcons, and 1 with the 49ers. He led the NFL with 21 sacks. At that time, was 1 shy of the NFL record. That was back in 1989. Throughout his career, he had 150 and a half sacks. And at the time of his retirement, that was the 4th best all time. He had 8 seasons with 10 or more sacks, and he was elected to 8 Pro Bowls, and he was born in Indianapolis, Indiana. Now, in 2012, Mr. Doleman was bestowed the highest honor an individual player can receive, and that's when he was elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame here in Canton, Ohio. Now, that's a little bit about his on the field, but listen to his off the field as well. He currently owns not one, but 2 companies, Chris Doleman Pro Auctions and Celebrity Charitable Networks, which just turned 3 years old. And their goal is for helping nonprofits, so organizations like the Pro Football Hall of Fame, whether smaller or larger like us, their goal is to help them achieve success through fundraising. Pro Auction is a new online service that integrates social media and fundraising by hosting online auction events for all levels of charitable and nonprofit organizations. And then the Celebrity Charitable Network was started as a means to help athletes, companies, and nonprofits get the tools and knowledge they need in order to help them make significant impact in their fundraising and social good efforts. So as you can see, someone who's obviously been tremendously successful off the field as well. So with that being said, what I'd like to do is turn things over to Mr. Pro Football Hall of Famer, Mr. Chris Doleman. If you can all join me and give a warm round of applause, welcoming him, all the schools.
Thank you, Jerry. I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored to be able to speak to the students today. This is something that I've been looking forward to for a while, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to them. To tell you a little bit about myself, yes, I was born in Indianapolis, Indiana. I was raised in a small town in York, Pennsylvania. Went to William Penn High School, then from there went on to Valley Forge Military Academy, attended the University of Pittsburgh, drafted back in 1985 to the Minnesota Vikings, spent 10 years there, traded in 94, did 94, 95 in Atlanta, where I make my home now, became a free agent in 96 and played in San Francisco for 96, 97, 98, went back to Minnesota, retired, and I'm here. Shortly after that, was inducted into their 50 greatest players, have received, been inducted into the Ring of Honor, then on into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And all of that has brought me to where we are today. So really quick synopsis of my professional career, but I'm happy to be here to be able to share my life experiences and lessons with the students we have today.
And thank you, Mr. Doleman. And students, just so you know, what we're going to do here today is we will rotate through as many times as we can. We'll go one question from each group in the order of Suffern, Bradford, and then Frederick. And each school will get to ask one question. And again, a reminder to mute your microphones immediately after you ask that question. And we'll rotate through as many times as we can. My best guess is probably each school will get to ask 4 or 5 questions throughout this program here today. So, and I just want to remind you guys to think about this for just a second. You are talking to one of the greatest football players ever. And I told the last group this as well, the last connection we just did. We've had over 20,000 players that have played in the National Football League since it started here in Canton, Ohio in 1920. There are only 280 members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And out of those, it's only about 240 or so that are players. So 240 out of 20,000. So you're talking about elite status being enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So this is your opportunity to ask someone who's achieved greatness. I mean, if you ever get an opportunity to talk to someone that's achieved greatness in any field, it's a tremendous honor. Whether it's one of the greatest doctors or the greatest lawyers or, you know, the greatest sport agent, or whether it's one of the greatest football players, and being able to find out what drove them, what character qualities, what inspired them, what motivations they have when they were younger, what obstacles did they face. These are all the types of questions that you guys can ask someone who's achieved greatness. And not only, as I said, on the field, but off the field as well. So someone that's done things in 2 different areas to an extremely high level. So I encourage you to ask those thought-provoking, challenging questions here today to Mr. Doleman. So with that being said, to start the program off, we'll start with our veterans there, the site that, as I said, hosted, well, someone that you would have played against, not on the offensive side, obviously, but Harry Carson, one of your contemporaries. Suffering, go ahead with your question.
Oh,
Should I stand in the front?
no, you're good right
All
there.
right. What were some of the challenges that you faced when you were in school, and how did you overcome them?
You're talking about high school, I take it. You know, the challenges of the day-to-day where that, you know, you have your school workload, you had sports, managing your time, you know, trying to have somewhat of a social life. But my social life was pretty much tied around, you know, my teammates. So that was probably the biggest challenge. You know, when I got home, I had, you know, chores I had to do to, you know, clean up my room, the house, you know, all those things that that you deal with on a daily basis.
Thank you very much, Suffern. Let's go to Bradford.
Which character trait is the most important to you?
Responsibility. I would say responsibility, because right now, even at your age, you have responsibility. You have responsibility for yourself. You have responsibility of making sure that your room is clean. You have responsibility for taking care of an animal. You have responsibility of getting to school, you know, doing your homework. I mean, all, you know, responsibility is probably the biggest, because it never leaves you.
And Mr. Doleman, can you share with them how responsibility, you know, how you demonstrated responsibility, or how important you think responsibility both in the, well, I guess in the team atmosphere in the sense, but both on the field with your teammates through your NFL career, but also off the field now with your teammates in your business world as well?
Well, responsibility intersects at all points in your life. You know, I'm responsible to charities. I was also responsible to teammates. They expect me to come to work and come to practice. You know, charities that we work with expect me to do a good job for them, make sure that they have all the tools they need to be successful. You know, to come up with, you know, new innovative ways to raise money, you know, for their charities. Making sure on the football side that, you know, you're not missing tackles and you know your assignments and all those types of things. So it constantly intersects, and it's something that, you know, is, you know, as long as you have breath in your body, you're going to have responsibilities.
Thank you very much, Mr. Doleman. And let's go to Frederick, Wisconsin. First of all, Frederick, I'm curious, how many, we'll have to wait for the video to switch over, but by cheers, how many Packer fans are in there? By cheers, how many Vikings fans?
Yeah.
Ah, there's a few in there. There's a few in there. So, Frederick, go ahead with your question.
Who are some of the coaches that coached you through your career, and who was your favorite coach?
I was fortunate enough to have some really great, legendary coaches. One, Bud Grant from Minnesota. Two, Bill Walsh, San Francisco. I had Steve Mariucci. You see him on the golf channel. I mean, on the golf channel. I'm sorry, on the Football Network. George Seifert, Jerry Burns, Dennis Green. I've had some great coaches along the way. Two of them were Hall of Fame coaches, by the way. And to have been coached by Hall of Fame coaches, their whole approach was totally different. They really let you go out and play. They didn't kind of burden you with assignments and positions to be in on the field. Once you got aligned, that was pretty much the framework. Then from there on, you had to go out and make plays. Their demands were a lot higher, but they didn't burden you with, the little things that some coaches do.
Thank you very much, Frederick. Let's go back to Suffern, New York.
Okay, sorry, I'm having trouble with the mute. Okay.
How did your education and experience in college benefit you in ways that the NFL couldn't?
That's a really good question. College has prepared me, and my education from college has prepared me for life. I play professional sports, but you can go pro in a lot of different things. You can be a lawyer, you can be a doctor, you can be a business owner. It teaches you that you're not limited by professional sports. Anything that you're doing and you're getting paid to do it, you're a professional at it, and you'll have an expertise in that particular field. So it gave me a lot more options, because if football would have ended early in my life, I had things that I could fall back on, and that is the biggest difference. Where that if you don't get your education and you just focus on sports, well, if you don't make it, you're done, or you can go there and get hurt and you can be done. So that was probably the biggest influencer for me.
And I think students, an important statistic to realize, I think some young people that might have an aspirations of being a professional athlete, I encourage you to pursue those dreams, but I'm going to be very real with you. It is only 0.2% of high school seniors that play football will ever make an NFL roster. That's according to the NFL Players Association. You can go to the website right now and find out future NFL hopeful facts and get that information right now. 0.2%, that's 1 in every 500 high school seniors that play football. So, think in your high school, you got 50 players on the high school team, 20 or 25 are seniors. It's going to take like 25 high schools to potentially have one person. And even at that, the average NFL career is only 3.5 years. So you realize how, with that question, you realize how important your education is. Even if you do think you have a good chance of making it in the National Football League. Statistics show that even if you do, it's not going to be a very long career. That's just the bottom line. So your education is going to be of utmost importance, as it is with anything. Obviously, your education is going to allow you to open doors that you couldn't do if you didn't have an education. So great question there with Suffern. Bradford?
If times were bad for you, did you ever feel like giving up?
No. I never thought about retiring, giving up, throwing in the towel, however you want to, phrase it. Once you start something, you want to really develop a commitment to it. You don't want it to be something that I'm going to try out, and if I like it, I'll stay with it. If I don't, I'll move on. for the simple fact that, you're going to find things that's going to come in front of you that you're going to like always better than what you're doing right now, because especially when the things get tougher. So, to be able to focus in on and find your passion early is a very, very good thing, because now I can sit up there and say, you know what, this is what I want to do, and now I have a dream that I can chase. There's an old saying, if you don't have a plan for life, life will have a plan for you. So that's something that I've always remembered and thought about as I move forward, in sports. I played a number of different types of sports, but even in school, I found the subjects that I was really passionate in. The earlier session, I told them that my passion is science, and my whole thing is I wanted to be a meteorologist, at some point in time, and professional athletics had taken me in a different direction. But I still have that passion and that love for science that I had when I was really young.
And students, I'm going to repeat that just so you can write that down. If you guys heard that quote, I think that's a great lesson to learn in life. And Mr. Doleman, can you repeat that again about a plan for life?
Sure. If you don't have a plan for life, life will have a plan for you. So basically, you got to set your sights on something, because if not, you'll be swayed by, the wrong influences, doing things that you normally wouldn't find yourself doing, trying drugs, doing drugs, drinking, whatever the case may be. But so, if you have, your sights set on going to college, that there's no colleges that are looking for that in the criteria. I mean, everybody knows that, when you go to college, you have fun and you enjoy life. But, if you're living like you're in college while you're in high school, it's not going to work out well for you.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Frederick.
Yeah, how has being a Hall of Famer changed you?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. Hasn't changed me at all. Hasn't changed me at all. If anything, it has made me very humble. You realize that when you walk into a room and there's John Madden and Roger Staubach and Jim Brown and all the greats that they have in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, you ask yourself, do I really deserve to be here? Was my career worthy enough to be considered one of the greatest that ever played the game? That's an uncomfortable position for me, but I do enjoy, being around them. So if anything, like I said, it makes you very humble and respectful for the history of the game and your fellow alumni.
Great question there, Frederick. Let's go back to Suffer.
A second.
Now? Yep. Oh, okay. If you could, would you change any of the choices you had made in the past?
No, because it would change your direction. To be honest with you, it would change. If deciding to go to a different college other than the University of Pittsburgh, I might not have made it into the NFL. Deciding to pick certain friends versus the ones that I have now, I might not have made it, through high school. So, I mean, there's a path that you take that is that gives you the best chance of success in life, and through those resources, and those resources would be parents, would be your teachers, people that you spend time with on a daily basis that see things in you that you don't see within yourself. Your spiritual walk, all those things will craft you and shape you and mold you onto the path that is best set for you, because everyone has a path that they have to walk, and to find that path early is total peace, for the simple fact that you're not just floundering around and trying to fit in to any particular group. because you're doing you. You're being true to yourself. Because at the end of the day, you might have little cliques and little, groups in school now, but you're only going to be in high school 4 years. Then after that, you won't even know where those guys are. Then you move on to college, and you move on into life. So the earlier you can distinguish what direction you want to go in, I think the better you'll be.
And Mr. Doleman, you talked about friendships. Can you share with the students how important it is to surround yourselves with people that have like goals as you do, and how for students may not realize, they hear it all the time from their parents about you're running with the wrong crowd, or you need to run with the right people, or those sorts of things, but maybe they don't realize how big of an impact that really is on their lives. Can you share with them a little bit about that?
Well, absolutely. You have to, we talk about what path you want to go down and what you want to do in life. You have to figure out, if I want to go to college, my friends are going to be ones who want to go to college. It's going to be just that simple. If I'm interested in trade schools, then I want to be with the people who are interested in that same type of stuff. Likeness isn't a bad thing. There's an old saying, association brings simulation. So if I'm hanging out with that group that's doing all the smoking and partying, and that's the cool group, well, I mean, how cool are you when you're 21, 22 years old, you didn't go to college, and you're still just standing around smoking and drinking? Because time waits for no one. It will pass you, and next thing you know, you're looking at it, and you got 25, 35 years in your life, and you haven't done anything because you were still caught up in that cool crowd. Well, the cool thing is being able to go to college and being able to provide for yourself and your family, doing something that hasn't been done in your family before. I'm the only one in my family that's ever played professional sports, and I try to honor them by always doing the right things. So, my natural, inclination is to always do the right thing, not to be, the cool guy in the room. Why pick on somebody in the room that you're already bigger than? Why bully somebody that you already, have control over anyhow? So, I mean, as a big guy, or a guy who is, quote unquote, a legend or famous or whatever the case may be, I usually take a back seat to all that stuff, because it's not for me to be out in front and flaunt that, hey, look, I'm a Hall of Famer. I'm the greatest, one of the greatest that ever played. Really? I mean, I'm more interested in being a great person than being a great football player.
Thank you very much, Mr. Doleman. I think students, if you're writing things down, quotes down, you heard the first one. If you don't plan for life, life will have a plan for you. I think another one that's important is as he said, time waits for no one. Time waits for no one. So that's another one that you guys can write down. I wrote it down. I'm taking notes throughout this program because there are things that I can apply to my life as well. So let's go to Bradford.
If you didn't agree with a referee's call, how did you react?
If I don't agree with a referee, how would I react?
Yes.
The referee, there's three parts of the game. There's players on one side, on one side of the ball, then there's players on the other side of the ball. So they're trying to, stop you doing whatever you're doing. If it's basketball, football, soccer, it doesn't matter. Then you have the governing board of the sport, and that are your officials. So if I don't agree with a call, you just move on, because you can't. There's never been in the history of sports that an official would make a call, then come back and say, okay, I made a mistake. It just doesn't happen. Now, are they perfect? Absolutely not. Do they make mistakes? Yeah, they do. But they're an independent board that is trying to govern the sport to the point where that they're not biased. They're not looking at, oh, I like this team versus that team. They're just calling it as they see it. And most of the time, the officials will say, hey, look, the reason why I call that is because you did this here. And, if you don't do it, we won't call it again. Well, you understand that, So, I mean, life isn't fair. So you got to anticipate that some of the calls won't be fair.
And I think a lot of this comes down to, going back to the pillars, is respect. As the players have to have some sort of respect for those officials to know that these folks have been trained to do the things that they want to do. They don't always get it right. I mean, the players don't always get it right, but that they do have the respect to know that, hey, let's let them do their job. They've been trained for this, and let's move on. And I think it sounds like Mr. Doleman took a similar attitude to that. Let's go to Frederick.
What did you do to prepare for a game?
Well, preparation for a game, that's a good question too. Preparation for a game. My preparation usually starts on Thursday for a Sunday game. That means you're getting your rest, you're deep into your playbook and all the handouts that you get, and you start fine tuning and refining until, you get to game day. That means, getting to bed early, getting good meals, making sure that, that there's no distractions. Most professional athletes, they have families as well. So you got to balance all that between, getting ready for a game and going out and play. That is the reason why when you play at home, teams have their players stay in hotels because they don't want you staying at your house, even though you're playing at home, for the simple fact that, a child might get sick, baby's crying in the middle of the night, you're not getting good rest, you stay up later than you normally would. And as an athlete, as a student, you have peak performance times and measures. And then when any of those things are thrown off, then you don't perform as well as you could. So as a professional athlete, you know that you got to get your rest, and you can't go to the club on Friday and think you're going to rest on Saturday and play, because they have a schedule. You got meetings, you got all these things. You just can't recover that way. So it starts on Thursday to get ready to play on Sunday.
Thank you, Frederick. And, thinking about that, just think about the preparation. That's not including, he didn't really even talk about practices. That was just his self-discipline of preparing himself to get ready, getting rest. Because those aren't always things that, the coaches will give you times, to be at bed. And obviously if you're in the away game or if you're at the hotel, obviously you might have lights out time. Certain teams may have that as well in the NFL. But a lot of these are self-discipline things. And one of the things I've always said, learning more and more and working with a lot of professional athletes is that, everybody wants to be a pro athlete. But if you actually learned what they did outside of Sunday, you might not want to be a pro athlete. You might not want to be a pro athlete. You don't realize the hours of practice, the hours of weight room training, the hours of rehabilitation, the hours of studying film, the hours of studying playbooks, knowing their opponents, knowing their tendencies, and getting to know it so well that it happens, it's a reflex. That if this player goes this way, has tendencies to do this, you're automatically reacting to that naturally because you've studied and prepared so well. A lot of people want to be pro athletes, but not everybody wants to go through what pro athletes go to get to that level. And Mr. Doleman is the reason why he got to that level and beyond, and being a Hall of Famer, is because of his work ethic and because of his preparation and the things he just shared with you, not taking any shortcuts anywhere in his life. So, Suffern, let's go ahead with your next question.
How did your interest in football begin?
Well, my dad, I was worrying him about playing football, and I started when I was 8 years old, believe it or not. Retired when I was 38. He had one rule: if he signed you up for it, you had to finish the sport, no matter what it was. It could have been the Boy Scouts, It didn't matter. So my whole thing was once we started, and I enjoyed it. I signed up the following year, and then I signed up the year after that, and it became part of me. I was fairly good at it. I enjoyed it. I was around my friends. It was just a great way to hang out for the summer, and it became just a part of my life.
Thank you very much, Suffer. Let's go to Bradford.
Who is your role model growing up?
I had multiple role models. You look at people and you see positive things in them, and you learn to adapt those types of things. It's not just this particular player because you really don't know that player. My role models fell with my high school coach. It was with my teachers, my parents, my buddy's dad. I mean, you had all these different influences on how to craft you as a young man, and it became part of me. That's kind of like finding out who you are and what your inner core is built on. So I always look for those positive things because those were people that were tangible. My teachers were tangible. I could see them on a daily basis, and you get a consistent behavior pattern from them, and that becomes part of that creating you in that role model path that you go down.
And I think something I've carried in my life is that looking at athletes more as those that you don't know, the intangibles, the untangible folks in your life, is looking at them more as examples of excellence as opposed to role models. To say, hey, this person does this, how they get there, how they achieve that status, and strive to be that way, but not not like a role model where you aspire to be them in everyday life because you know how they are behind the cameras when the cameras aren't on them. So that's just kind of my philosophy. I look at role models, and then there's examples of excellence as well. Let's go to Frederick.
With your experiences, which individual or team had the worst sportsmanship?
The Packers, right?
No, I can't say the Packers. Maybe the Packer fans. They weren't very nice to me when we were coming there from Minnesota. You know what? I tell you what. The guys on each team, there's a certain respect you have for, and I think it's just a professional respect you have for your fellow teammate. Or opponent. You never wanted to go out and hurt your opponent. You never wanted to go out and maim your opponent. Now the fans were totally different. Philadelphia by far had the worst fans in the National Football League. New York was right up there. They literally, unlike their teams, they wanted to hurt you. You mean they would throw coins down from the stadium. They would throw batteries. They would throw snowballs. They would do whatever they had to do to hurt you. So that's why you see players when they go under the tunnel, they always have their helmets on just to protect them for somebody throwing a quarter or a dime or something like that is, very hard to see. And and it hits you in the face or hits you in the eye, and now all of a sudden you can't even do your job anymore. You pretty much will lose that eye. I would think if you got hit in the face with with a dime or a quarter that hit you in the eye.
And I guess there's a reason why Philadelphia had their own municipal set up at the stadium. So
Absolutely, that's the reason why.
There you have it. Let's go back to Suffer.
Here we are.
Did you ever come close to giving up on your dreams? And what was that experience like? And what did you do to move forward?
I never came close to giving up on my dreams. There's we never hear people talk about short-term goals and long-term goals anymore. My dream was when I was your age was playing for my high school football team. That was my dream. Then from there, when I was playing high school football, I thought it'd be great to be able to play college. So I wanted to play college football at the highest level. Because ABC Sports used to have college football come on, and it would just seem like just the greatest thing. I didn't know if I was playing, but I just wanted to be on a team. So once I got to college, then I'm looking at my teammates that I played with were being drafted. And it was the thing that, man, that'd be great if I could be drafted. And you just played hard and you stay committed to your craft. Then next thing you know, you're drafted. Now, once you're in the league, you start all over again. How do I become, a good player in this league? And you learn as much as you can on how to become a professional. Because once you're drafted, you're not a professional. You're just a fifth-year senior playing, professional football. You don't even understand that game yet. And I had veterans around to show me and tell me and explain to me, what do you have to do to become a successful professional player? Then once that had happened, then I started seeing the fruits of my labor starting to show up when you go to the Pro Bowl and you're all pro and those types of things. So it starts very small, and there are things that are in your grasp that you can get that reward and realize that I can achieve this, and you just do it in steps.
And Mr. Doleman,
thank you for your question.
Yeah, great question. And Mr. Doleman, you talked about asking some of your teammates for help or whatever it might be. What advice do you have for students about asking for help, whether it's on the field or off the field?
It's important. It's all part of the learning curve. It's all in part of the growth period. If you don't understand something, you got questions about things, and it can be a variety of different things. Then that's when you reach out to that adult that's in your life. It could be your teacher. It could be your parents. Most kids don't want to talk to their parents, but they're okay talking to their friends' parents, and we all have parents, and you go to your buddy's parents and you say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, I want to ask you a question about something. And can this stay between us? And usually it does, because that parent wants to give you the best advice they can, because you are one of the bigger influences in their child's life. So they're not going to sit up there and just feed you a bunch of stuff so that you can go out and corrupt their own child. So they're gonna spend that time with you and say, okay, this is how it works, and this is what you do. And I would stay away from that. And it never gets to your parents if you're not comfortable talking to them. The same thing with your teacher, to be able to reach out to her. And if you don't understand something in the classroom, do it after class, do it before class, email her, do whatever medium it works for you, that they can help you with it. Don't go through it blindly, because at the end of the day, you still don't know any more you knew before, and you wasted your time. Now I got to redo it all over again.
And trust me, students, Chris Doleman did not get in the Hall of Fame if he didn't ask questions. So he had to ask questions of his coaches and off the field as well, because obviously if he wasn't successful off the field and keeping his nose clean and out of trouble, if he didn't have those mentors that he went to and asked those questions, that obviously could have impacted his opportunities that he's had to make it to the highest level a player can make it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Bradford, go ahead with your question.
Did you volunteer anywhere as a kid?
Yep, I was a Boy Scout. I was a Cub Scout. I volunteered, in my high school, a number of different places. Giving back has always been part of my life. So it was just, when I went to college, they asked the players to go and, visit schools, do reading programs. They asked them to do a lot of different things. So, with all that said, I mean, I've been giving back to the community for a long, long time, and for me, it's rewarding. I mean, it's just fulfilling. So, I wouldn't know what to do if I couldn't do it.
Thank you, Bradford. Let's go to Frederick.
What were the biggest obstacles you had to overcome to make it from college to the NFL?
Usually the biggest obstacle is temptation. Wanting to do things that everybody else is doing on Friday night, going to the party, knowing that you have a game to play on Saturday. Those were the big obstacles. Being committed and saying, hey, look, for me to do something that would impact me will directly impact my teammates or directly impact my family or directly impact my friends. Those are the obstacles that you face. Getting out there and playing and giving your heart and soul, that's not hard. That's not hard to do. But, all the stuff, prior to that, showing up to practice for some people is not for me, but for some people, getting to practice every day, getting to practice on time, knowing your assignment, in school, making sure you're staying eligible, doing good in class, not being suspended, not hanging out with the wrong crowd. I mean, all those things are obstacles that can be in your way. I mean, life is just a series of problems, and you're going to get a problem. The thing that you have in total control over is how you deal with that problem. So that's where that you lean on, your spiritual walk, you lean on your family, you lean on your teachers, you lean on that adult that you can confide in to kind of help you navigate through these problems. Because trust me, they come one at a time. I mean, and sometimes they come in groups. I mean, they're never short on problems in life.
And Mr. Doleman shared, about the word commitment, and obviously it's been displayed in everything he shared today with you guys. But just to give you an idea, not just being committed on the NFL level or at his businesses, but even this broadcast, for example, just commitment is a part of who he is. I mean, it's just naturally he's going to be there on time. So, for example, all of you groups know that because you were all scheduled for the program back in January, that Mr. Doleman had to cancel at the last second because of a knee injury. He used the word to me. He hated canceling out. He despised it because he doesn't cancel. He can't stand being late, even for a video conference broadcast. So that's just who he is. That commitment is who he is. And the earlier that you start getting that into repetition, showing up for class on time and preparing for your tests and getting to practice early and staying late to do extra stuff and just to having a commitment to being excellent and whatever those things are, it becomes a habit. It becomes a habit. We think of habits sometimes as negative habits that we have in life, but there's a lot of positive habits that we can do as well. And repetition can make those habits become just that, a habit. Just a little advice there for you guys. Suffern, let's go back to you guys. I think we got about 8-9 minutes left. We could probably take maybe one question from each school.
Did you ever find yourself hanging with the wrong crowd? How did you get out of it and ensure that they didn't influence you in a negative way?
That's a great question. I've never found myself hanging with the wrong crowd, but one of the ways that you can separate yourself from the wrong crowd is by doing things that they don't do. If you got a crowd or a group of friends that are smoking cigarettes, and they ask you, hey, you want to smoke? You say no. They're going to want to separate from you. People who are doing things that they know that they're not supposed to be doing, they only want to do it with people that support them. If your interest is in music, or you sign up for an activity after school, that it be music, that it be ballet. My parents taking me to gymnastics. All those things will separate you from that group because they're not interested in those types of things. They're only interested in the things that they're doing. So to be able to find a alternative, be it in school or out of school, or even if you don't have it, you can tell them, hey, my mom is taking me to X, Y, and Z. I mean, they're taking me to gymnastics or swim lessons or whatever it may be. They're going to separate from you. So that is something that you can do to clear yourself. And when they see you, they'll say, hey, hi, Molly, or hi, Pam, whatever, the name is, and you just keep right on moving.
There's a great question there from Suffern. Thank you very much. Let's go to Bradford.
Did you ever have that you tackled?
I'm going to go ahead and ask you to speak up, please.
You got to be a little bit. Can you go louder?
He's asking if you ever had a player kind of react negatively towards you when you tackled him.
Yes, I have, but they realize that if you hit a guy and you tackle him and he might think that you were trying to hurt him or hurt him, you just tell you ask him what's the deal, what's your problem, and he'll tell you, why did you do this or why did you do that? He's like, man, I'm just trying to get you down on the ground. There's nothing that I'm trying to do to hurt you. So that happened with me with a one of the fellow Hall of Famers we had, Marshall Falk. I tackled him and he hopped up and he was all huffy and it was like, what's your problem? I'm just doing my job. And once we talked about it, we both ended up laughing about it. But it was just something that it's all about how it's interpreted. That is the big thing.
And can you talk about, use an interesting word there, how it's interpreted, and talk about that in life, how things are interpreted. It's not always what it is. Things aren't always how am I saying this the right way? Things aren't always the way that they are. They're sometimes perceived differently from what's actually going on. Talk about perception and things like that, because that's a big impact on students.
Well, I mean, we're constantly inundated with cues. There's social cues, there's behavioral cues. These are things that, you would, once you're in that environment, your body dictates, your brain tells your body to act a certain way. I mean, when you're at a football game or a sporting event, you go crazy. But you can't walk in your classroom, and start screaming and hollering and going crazy. Wrong environment. So those cues are, when you sit up there and you interpret these things and you realize, okay, I'm playing football. I'm just trying to get you down on the ground. And if you're trying to get away from me, I'm going to, do whatever I have to do within the rules to get you down on the ground. So if you hop up thinking that I was trying to, twist your ankle or bend your knee a certain way, I mean, that is something that's cleared up in communications. No, you were pulling this way and I'm trying to pull you back in the opposite direction. So, understanding your environment, understanding what behaviors that is necessary for that environment or what is required for that environment, that's how that dictates that behavior and how you respond.
Thank you, Bradford, and let's go to Frederick for the last question of the program.
What was your and the team's attitude like in practice? And what was your favorite workout song?
That's great. I like that.
My favorite workout song? I didn't have, when you're working out in the facilities, they just have music playing. I didn't have a particular workout song or, like you listen to all these guys today. You see all these guys today that listen to music and try to get themselves ready to play. When I was a young player, my thing was I like Phil Collins. He had a song out, I Can Feel It Coming. And it kind of got you prepared, for what you were getting ready to do. But as I got older, as a player, I was comfortable with knowing just my assignment. I could listen to gospel. I could listen to, rap. No, I never listened to rap. R&B. I could listen to, rock, easy rock. I mean, I could listen to anything. I knew what I had to do. But that's just a mental maturity. But some guys now they think that their power or their talent lies in music and what they get themselves ready to play with. And I just, as you age as a player and you understand what it takes to be successful, you realize that that's not the truth. It really lies in you and the God-given ability.
And I have to be honest, when I weight train or do sprints or anything, I still stay really active today. I have the Rocky IV soundtrack in my phone. That's what gets me amped up for a good workout. I'll be honest. So, Mr. Doleman, you shared a lot of different pieces of advice and shared a lot of stories about your life here today. Is there anything that you'd like to either reiterate or something else you'd like to share with these students to close the program?
Well, yes, it is. Throughout my whole career, from the time I came in as a rookie to the time I left, I kept a notebook on everything. Guys I played against and how they respond, teams, cadences. But on my my notebook and no matter how many I would go throughout the course of the season, I had a number of things there. I had, a couple of sayings. You are what you repeatedly do. The best way to predict your future is to create your future. And you're judged by what you give, not by what you receive. And that has been the three things that I pretty much live my life by. Even today, those are my core values. You are what you repeatedly do. If I spend my time, getting high and doing illicit things, then that's just who I am. If I want to change that, I have the ability to do it. So the best way to predict my future is to create my future. Don't wait for something to change for you. And you're always judged by what you give, not by what you receive. They always recognize the guy who gives back to his community, gives back to his fellow man, and not so much the guy who gets the big bonus and hasn't done the same thing. So those are my three top core values that has driven me to where I am today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Doleman. And students, if you can unmute your microphones for a second and join me in saying thank you and giving a warm round of applause to Pro Football Hall of Famer Mr. Doleman. Thank you very much. And Mr. Doleman, just start.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Doleman, just on behalf of all the folks here at the Hall of Fame that you know very well here, thank you for taking time out of your busy day. Students, if you didn't already know, I'm sure you did, he's an owner of 2 businesses, so to take time out of his morning, take some sacrifice as well, but nonetheless, you heard, giving is what he is about. Thank you, Mr. Doleman, for taking time out of your morning to do this program.
Guys, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
And again, thanks to Polycom, thanks to E-Tech, thank you to the teachers, thank you to the students and all the folks that helped make this program possible. What an awesome program, awesome group of questions you guys had. We appreciate all your hard work and dedication, everyone, to making this program a success. And hopefully see you here in Canton, Ohio someday. If not, maybe I'll see you virtually again. But take care, and this concludes our program. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, it was great. Thank you.
Both programs, you were spot on.
Who
said that? Who said that?
Oh, by the way, wait. Next time you get injured and you want to do a session from the hospital, Jerry has a method to make that happen too.
Well,
Perfect.
He's at Polycom. I'm sure Polycom can hook him up with some laptop software that can connect out.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Is that
We look
Renee in there?
forward to it. You got it, Jerry.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Chris, again, thank you for everything, and I'll follow up with feedback and stuff like that. But I'll follow up with you afterwards just to touch base on the whole thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Make it a
Thank
great
you,
day,
Chris.
folks. Thank you.
And Polycom, are any of the folks in there with you, Chris?
No, they're not.
No. Okay. All right. Well, I'll follow up with a call to them too as well to thank them. So, thank you.
All
I
right.
appreciate it, Chris. Take care.
Thank you, Jerry. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Mr. Doleman, can I sneak in
Thank
one
you.
more question?
Sure.
This is
Sure.
Kelly Hopkins from Frederick, and this is Sam. And he is wondering if you can tell him anything that would help the attitude in practice, or how you operated during practice, even in high school.
You know, the big thing about practice, when you're young, you don't really understand why you need to do so much of it. I would look at the instruction and not so much the instructor. If you're having problems with your coach or anything else, I mean, players focus on the instruction and not the instructor. When it becomes a sense of where that you feel that you're bumping heads with your coach, or you're bumping heads with other players, you don't know if that person's going to be around next year or not. So why cheat yourself? And the thing that you have control over, and 100% control over, is yourself. And that ability to say, okay, this is what you have me doing. All right, let's go out and do it. Let's do it. I can guarantee you, I did not like running gassers. I did not like running hills. I did not like running a lot of the stuff that we did, the physical stuff. But, you just did it because everybody else did it. Now you become elevated from that guy who's like with the bad attitude to all of a sudden the guy who's the leader. Because you're just saying, okay, bring it on. You're not going to break me. Bring it on. And through that whole process, through that they're making you a better person and a better player. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. That means a lot to me, actually.
Yeah, well, you're taking a negative and turning it into a positive. Now they're going to say, what's your name?
Sam.
They're going to say, man, what happened to Sam? Sam is leading everybody. And they said, well, Sam, we want you to do 350s. Okay, let's do it. Sam, we want you to, run the hills, because it's not just you by yourself. It's going to be the rest of the guys too. You see what I'm saying? Now that, you went from Sam that, okay, Sam, this is what we got to do, to Sam, you guys follow Sam, because Sam knows how to get it done. So that's how you take that power that you have and turning it into something that now I'm the leader of the group, because they're all going to be looking at you, because they're looking for that response before. Now you're just giving them a positive response. And that's the same thing in classrooms as well. So I think you got it. I can see the smile on your face.
Yeah. Thank you for taking the time to talk to Sam and talk to us. My mom, she would keel over. She wears your jersey still.
Okay. Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't know. They don't maybe know that about me, that we were pretty hardcore fans, but
well, I
we
just
sure appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm glad to have this one-on-one, because this is pretty cool technology.
It is.
Yeah, this means a lot to me. This will help a lot when I try being a captain this year, my senior year.
Well, I tell you what, everything they ask you to do, you do it, and you do it better than anybody else. You see what I'm saying? And I guarantee you, you will be the captain, because you know who they're going to pick? They're going to pick the guy who's leading us. That's how that happens. That's not done through, the political system. They're going to say, this guy here is just he's a go-getter. And there's things where that coaches know and players know. And when players are listening to other players and following other players, you know what coaches do? They come and join forces with you because you're leading by example. So that's good stuff.
That's awesome. Well, thank you.
Well,
Yeah, thank you.
you're welcome, and I look forward to it. Let me know what happens. I want to see if you became captain.
We'll keep you updated.
I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Kelly, I have to tell you that you know Connie Mansky at your region there.
Yes.
Yeah, she's a diehard Vikings fan too. She told me that when she saw us promoting Chris Doleman, she's like, oh, we got to get our schools involved. She was pretty pumped up. So you got a few Vikings fans there in Packer country.
I appreciate it, Jerry. Is there a way that you can find out if Sam makes the become team captain?
Yeah, Kelly, you can keep me updated. She has Kelly, you have my email. Feel free to keep me updated throughout the process. We'd love to hear what's going on.
Sounds good.
And we can keep Chris
I'm betting
updated.
on you, Sam.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Have a great rest
And
of
we're
your day.
serious. We're serious, Kelly. Keep us updated. We're not we're not joking. We want to hear from you guys.
I want Sam to be a leader. Sam, he's had it. We've been struggling a little bit, but
Yeah.
and
But
does that go with the classroom too?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sam, are you hearing this?
Absolutely. Because you know what? Life isn't just football. Life is all that. Your life is school, it's education, it's, homework, it's football, it's, that's your life right now. And when you get older, it's going to be going to work, paying bills, taking care of children. So you just trade one set of circumstances for another set of circumstances. So, I mean, it starts, it starts your next class, and I guarantee you all that will go, and those teachers saying, what happened to Sam? And they're telling the coach, you got a new Sam here, but it's all in your control. It's all in your control.
You hearing this? I feel like it's sinking in. This is good.
And you know what, Sam? I don't know you from a can of paint. All I know is that, you're a young soul that's sitting up here and saying, hey, look, what do I have to do? And I'm telling you, just like Matt Blair told me, to be a professional, there's guys who are professionals, then there's guys that are Pro Bowlers, and there's guys that are all pros. And the guys who are Pro Bowlers, all you had to do is get a sack, you got to cause fumble, recover a fumble, just make a play a game. That's 16 plays in one season. That's a lot harder to do than you think. 16 big plays. But once you start doing it and you start with one, you say, okay, I got 30 or 40 or 50 opportunities to make another one in the next game, then the next game. So, right now you have an opportunity in class to go ahead and I got a test that's coming up. Well, I'm going to go ahead and ace this test. And I'm going to ace it in a way that they sit up and say, okay, what happened to Sam? Sam didn't cheat off nobody. Sam did this himself.
The conference is about to end.
So,
Don't worry,
that
that's
opportunity,
5 minutes left.
okay, that opportunity is there for you to do whatever you want to do. Understand where your power lies, and that power lies in you. So you get the circumstances, how you deal with those circumstances are totally on you, and you predict your future. That's how you do it. The best way to predict your future is to create your future. So that works perfectly. That saying works perfectly in exactly what you're trying to do. So, I hope you wrote those down, and I'll repeat them again. The best way to predict your future is to create your future. You are what you repeatedly do. And oh shoot, what am I missing, Jerry?
If you don't have a plan for life, life will
If you don't have a plan
you.
for life, life will have a plan for you. But one of my cores, the best way to predict your future is create your future. You are what you repeatedly do. and you're judged by what you give. You're judged by what you give, not by what you receive. So I think that first one, the best way to predict your future is to create your future. That is definitely the right plan for you. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just hope I made a difference.
Yes, you did.
All righty, great. I'm looking forward to hearing about this too.
Yeah.
So that should be about August of this year. I'll know about if you're going to be the one of the captains, correct?
Yes.
All right. And let me say this here. If you're not captain, that's no big deal. You still continue to do your thing because people will recognize what you're doing. So don't let that determine your success or failure. You go out and you still lead by example. Because now people have to explain why you're not the captain, why you're not this, why you're not that, when you're the first one or the second one in everything every drill, every run, every meeting, you're first one there. That they got to explain that themselves. That's not your problem. You're just doing what you got to do.
All right, thank you. This means a lot to me.
All righty, buddy. I appreciate it. I look forward to hearing the update.
Yep. You're welcome.
Thanks again, Mr. Doleman.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
you guys
Kelly.
have
We'll
a
talk
good
to you
one.
soon.
And we'll keep you posted. Okay, Sam?
All righty. For sure. For sure.
Sam, if anything comes up too, hey, Kelly, if you guys have any questions, you need me to forward along to Mr. Doleman. Please don't hesitate to, if something comes up in the process, a question or anything like that, please don't hesitate to shoot those over.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Chris. Appreciate your time, buddy. Thank you very much.
Not a problem. Enjoyed it.
That's awesome. I love seeing stuff like that. Thank you.
All
Take
right,
care.
man.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. See you later. Bye-bye.